Oh man. Good evening, folks. My name is Real Blank Space. We are playing a 20-year-old text-based role-playing game. Keep coming up with these different ideas to turn into YouTube videos or to introduce you to the game or the genre. The other day we did a veteran character package. We went from start to finish, came up with the concept, did the training, bought the items, launched it into the game. It was a good time. Big thank you to Malikin's player, for coming on the show and hanging out. So I asked on the sorry, it's starting to get fall around here, and that means chapstick or chapped lips. So I asked around the Discord. I said, "Hey, who wants to come and hang out? Maybe tell me a little bit about your character. Tell me a little bit about how you built them, things like that." And we had a couple of folks who were like, "Yeah." So let me give a little ring here. You know what I feel like? Like Mr. Rogers. Let's go see what our friends are up to. Let's see here.
What up?
Hello, hello. Could you say something one more time so I can check levels?
Hello.
Looks good.
Sweet.
All right. So I've introduced myself, and this is the player of
Centus Millions.
Centus Millions. You know what? I'm actually going to turn you up just a little bit. 1 second. There we go.
Better?
Yep, much better.
Cool.
So, how long have you been playing text-based role-playing games, or the Eternal City? Which either one did you want to answer?
Well, they are the same answer because TEC is the only MUD that I've ever played, and I've been playing TEC on and off since about 2008.
Very cool. All right. Centus, I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a new character, right?
No, he's actually quite old. I created
Wow.
Centus back in 2011. He's been around for a very long time.
Very cool. I had
Or very long in like my sense, not in. There's some players that I've seen from 2008 who are still in the game, and they were here before me, so
well,
take that as it is.
there are some people still playing 20-year-old characters, so you know.
For sure.
All right, so the reason I'd ask, because I had just started seeing Centus around more often. So that's one of those fun things about the storytelling in TEC, is that you can have a character who is, for all purposes, let's say they're gone on an adventure, or they're visiting family, or they're just not around, and then you
Right.
decide to start playing them again, and all of a sudden they become, more relevant, and they're around RPing with people. I think that's great.
Yeah, for sure. And when I first started playing him, I didn't really get into him that much. He was a product of, I had another non-com character back then who I'm not sure anyone would remember, but it was a thief character named Kit who dressed up like a cat and pretended to be a cat and would just steal people's stuff and then run away and drop it somewhere, get arrested and beat up a bunch. And eventually got taken a little too far and he got killed. So I sort of had this void where I really enjoy playing TEC and I love the combat side of it, but sort of what was touched on in your last stream last week was, these characters definitely have a part of me in them, like how I RP them. And all my combat characters tend to be like the more serious side of
Right.
my role play. Like there's a lot of dramatic storylines. They're very serious minded and focused on very serious goals. And I wanted something that was a break from that. I wanted something that was a little bit more fun and light and casual. And I had seen other brokers in game who I didn't really think, like, they were just a character that was made to be a broker, and
Right.
that was their purpose. Like, these people, and I don't know who they are, and I'm not trying to call anyone out,
No.
but like, someone would think, looking for a broker to sell X, Y, and Z, and no one would be online, and then suddenly like 8 brokers would wake up at the same time and be like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And I was just like, "You guys, come on!" Like,
It's like it's like
that's
locksmith, right? You're like, you go up to Bronze Lane, you go into a pulla, you're like, oh, there's nobody here, and you're like, hey, any locksmiths around? Yeah, man, right here. Yeah, man, right
yeah,
there. So
it's a little silly.
I hear you there.
So I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it in a different way, where it was like, this isn't just a character who's rolled some decent stats when it comes to interacting with NPCs, but this is a guy who's a real broker, like somebody who takes it serious, like it's his job and it's his calling, so to say.
All right, so let's dig into that. And just by the way, some folks had asked me, are you going to do this more scripted or more kind of off the cuff? And I thought it would be more fun to do it off the cuff. I find that interviews that are scripted can be kind of boring to both watch and participate in. As Centus was just talking now, my follow-up question is, tell me what the difference is, how you decided to make it such a serious part of him. You just said that you play him for the happy fun part, but he has a tiny sliver of, this is my job, or this is something I want to be good or proud of. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, um, it's a very interesting story, but essentially, I I got my MBA in business, obviously, and in leadership, and there's a lot that I learned from that I don't get to do as part of my job that I actually really enjoyed quite a bit. Like, as weird and nerdy as it sounds, balance sheets and functions are something that I have a lot of fun designing and playing around with, and my own personal finance is something that I take very close to heart and is not just something I do because it's a good idea to do, but also
Right.
something that I do because it's kind of fun. So I was like, nothing in tech is kind of like that. Like, people largely in this game just kind of like throw coin around because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, in-game money is like, cool, great. You have a lot of talents. You're super neat because it doesn't really mean anything. But I was like, you know what? I can take those kind of skills and really like have that be where this character launches from. I don't really know who he's going to be yet, but I have this idea of a guy who's like taking down notes. He's monitoring the market. He's only trying to sell when it's the best moment to sell. He wants to be an advisor to people who hire him to perform his service. So it goes beyond just a bring me, or like, let me meet you at the bank, follow you to wherever you need to sell things, accept a sack and pass it to another guy, to offer up one word to get your vellum, bring it back to the bank and pay you. I was like, that's basic. That's not interesting, and I think it can go a little bit further. So it's like, that's what Centus believes is his value proposition, is that he's not just a broker who's going to get you a better price for whatever plunder you come across, but he's a broker who's going to advise you, like, the market in stones is too low today. You're not going to make a lot of money off of this. This is your hard work, and you should deserve to make more than you would today, essentially.
It's very interesting. There, there's something to be said for characters that they're there for a form and function. People who, are selling a sack of meat because they can. And because they know people would rather buy that, which you gain skill points to do. You gave it to them, and you exchange a little bit of money. But ultimately, it's just, I don't want to pay for rations, and I've already made it. I already created this. Same thing with brokers. It's like, hey, I need you to do this. I will give you 5, 10, 15, 20% of, the profit because you've created a character that does these sort of things. But you're trying to enrich that experience a little bit with your character by being like, well, my character's gone to these places and he's actually trying to protect the people, which I think, and I'm going to make an assumption here, maybe you can tell me if this is true. Do you find that people want to use Centus exclusively? Has it made for some more enriched RP where people are like, hey man, like I'm saving my stuff up for you, or like I really like the way you do stuff. Like, have you found that that's happened, or are people still
Definitely.
looking at? Okay, good, good. Well,
Definitely.
can you tell me
And
about that?
it's yes, absolutely. And that's something that I'm super amped about, and I totally love everyone who comes and hires me. I I have a huge part of my heart for those people because it's just such a blast. Centus is this guy who just lives in the city, and he's not a combatant by any means. He's skilled in no weapons. He is not ever going to be skilled in a weapon. So he likes to ask people about their stories and where they've been and what they're doing and what life is like the life of an adventurer and stuff like that. And it's created some pretty awesome moments. As a result, there are some people who I notice only deal with me when it comes to selling certain wares, and those are the kind of people who will ask the question, is today a good day for this, or should I be focusing on selling bronze today? Is leather good? Where can I meet you? Where can we get the best prices? And when I first started out, it was sort of like the standard broker interaction where I would follow them. They would just, type walk to wherever we were going as fast as they possibly could.
Yep.
We would sit there. I would offer anything that they needed sold. We'd get the vellum and we'd go back. And then I was like, you know what? Here's how I'm going to start changing this. And I started beckoning people. And on Centus, I almost exclusively use walk to commands unless there's some place that I absolutely need to be.
Gotcha.
Because I love just having someone follow me and kind of meander through the city, get a little bit more of the sights, and it frees me up, so I'm not, hitting macros to go in any certain direction, but I'm still walking towards it, and I get the moment to kind of ask about their character and try and learn a little bit more about who they are, and it's sort of like in what and I'm really humble here, so prepare yourself. What I think is a very selfless thing is I'm trying to make space for other people to RP their characters, I'm
Yes.
giving a platform for people to be like, we all play this game and it's all about role play. So everyone has these stories, and I find that it's like rare when people actually sit down and ask, like, who are you and why are you in this city? Like, what do you do beyond bring loot back from, wherever you go hunting.
I love it. And to speak on that for a moment, I like to call those the role play opportunities that there are times, and I'm sure, I mean, you've been playing for a while. There are times when you go to the bank and you're just there to get some money to go get something, right? So you might stop and say hi, or you might visit, but you're on your way to go do something.
Right.
So it's not a big window of opportunity. Then there are those times where, let's say like right now, my plan for this evening is to, talk with you, do my character's library time, and then I'm going to go push the red button. It's that free RP time where then the window is much wider, where, I'm not necessarily chasing skill points or going to buy this thing, or I'm opening myself up for those interactions, like you said, to be like, I need to sell some stuff, but what I'm really looking for is getting to talk to somebody. And for those who played tech, and I'm going to really date myself here, back in like 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, we used to have parties at Gilvin's or Lita's or the Toga, and
Oh yeah.
you would talk to people because everyone was in these clusters or areas. You got done chasing your skill points, and then you were like, hey man, tell me about this rumor. I heard this chick was with this dude, and I heard this dude did this one, and they bought a house, but she's got a baby over here, and like, this still happens, but I feel like those windows have gotten a little bit smaller. So it makes me, I'm pretty pumped to hear that you're one of those people like myself who tries to encourage those windows. We're like, hey man, if you're not on your way to do something, let's slow walk. Let's walk this out, walk to Emerald, and we're gonna talk. Like, hey, how you doing? How's life? Oh shit, you're married to this person? You got this girlfriend? Like, that's awesome. So kudos to
Yeah.
you for that.
Thanks, man. I think it's important, and just it makes. I'm a pretty big role player outside of tech. I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I've done a lot of tabletop role playing for as long as I can remember, and this is what I enjoy doing. This is one of my big passions in And I think that one of the reasons why I keep coming back to TEC is this is a really great platform for people like me who really like to dive deep into a character.
Yeah. You mentioned D&D. I've mentioned it on a couple streams, but because this is going to go on YouTube, I also want to mention this again. What I find amazing is that there's kind of this revival of D&D. You know, there's
Totally.
shows on Twitch. People are hearing about it on mainstream media. You know, people from Hollywood are like, "Yeah, I play D&D." These are folks that you see on your cable networks, and I've also found that there are more people that are, "Hey, what is this text-based role playing?" Because some folks, you know, it's nice to have a tabletop in person. That's awesome. It's nice that there's virtual tabletops, you know, whether it's Fantasy Grounds or it's Roll20, where you can get groups of people out of nowhere. And hey, you're from Michigan, I'm from Maine, that dude's from Florida, this chick's from California. We get together, we play. But what I love about MUDs, and I keep trying to push out there, is that it's an alive story. Like with D&D, you got 2 hours or 4 hours, and that's it. Whereas the story continues, and I think
Yeah.
that's so like I feel that we could see role playing games like TEC grow when people realize, dude, I can go in this game and I can create some role play. I can try to get that chick to come hang out with me over here, even though she's got a boyfriend, or I can steal that person's stuff, or I can be that really cool broker who talks to folks, and it changes what's happened in the game. So
Yeah, and it's always wild, you know. I never know what's going to happen after I go to sleep for a long period of time and I come back. I'm like, what crazy thing's gone on? And it always feels like there's something happening. And there was a point in time where, you know, the around like 2011, 2012, where I feel like things got a little stagnant. Like you would see 20 people logged in, and that would be it. And it would just be the same 10 people playing two different characters and stuff like that. And it didn't feel like the story was really moving anywhere. It kind of felt like everything was in a little bit of a gridlock. So when I looked into coming back very recently, I logged in on my oldest character and typed who just to see who's around. I'm blown away because there's consistently 60 people online in game, and that is something that I have not seen in a long, long time. And
Yep.
it is something that I'm so excited about. I love that there are people who are now playing TEC who I don't know.
Yep.
And I've never interacted with any of their characters. Like some of them are playing their first character and are some really huge personalities. So it's nice to have. I think it was good. Like I was getting super burnt out. I had my original character was a guy named Sapuricus who was part of the Silver Wolves. He started out as a staver back before staves were ridiculous. Lost every single spar he was in by and large. Like this character I rolled when I had no idea what this game was about or like
Right.
how to roll a character. So he had garbage stats. His traits were a mess. Learned staves, unlearned staves, learned brawling and pank. Then they fixed staves and ruined brawling and pank. So I was like, sweet. Now I've got this character that's just like, it's like I unlearned now the best weapon in the game. This sucks. I'm done. And I walked away. And I had been going pretty hard. Like it was a time in life where I had a lot of free time. Like I was working 3 days a week for like 12 hours a day. So I had 4 days off where I was just like, okay, what am I going to do? And I dove like way down the TEC rabbit hole.
Yep.
And, there's a lot that comes with that with any video game or with anything really. Like when it gets to that point where it's what you do and it's all that you do,
Right.
then it gets to be a problem. Like it felt like I was a premium account and I was like, okay, well I need to be logged in at all times because I need to get all those RPs. I need to make sure that I'm like gaming it as much as I possibly can. I'm going to max out every single cycle and I'm just going to train all these things and be the absolute best. And, you get to a point and you're thinking, like, this guy is only, and it's weird to say, this guy is only 7 years old, but then there are like characters that have been around for decades and you're just like, all right, no, there's such a gap that I'm never going to overcome it. So I put it down. came back to the game, and it's been way different
I,
ever since.
I want to dig into that because I've had this conversation before. When I started playing as a, again, high schooler, there was this idea of number one. You know, you wanted to have the best ranks. You wanted to have, you wanted to be able to have three people come kick your butt and just stand there and laugh. And
Right.
I think I'm going to generalize our community. I think a lot of us, not all of us, have kind of grown out of that, where you start to look at it like it's nice to be comfortable fighting things in PvE, which is player versus environment. So it's nice to be able to go fight bandits or go to Friendliest or explore the game world and not feel, oh goodness, I'm going to get my butt kicked.
Yeah.
But I think that there are some folks, most folks who've kind of come back who are no longer worried about trying to be that 1% because they see that there's more value to a good roleplay session. Sure, it's fun to PvP kick somebody's butt, but you're never going to be that number one. There's going to be somebody who has better stats, or you might be number one, and then 2, 3, and 4 team up, and then you're PK'd.
Right.
People have started to kind of get away from that. I've got to have the number one ranks, got to have and more of the I want to do roleplay. Now, again, that's not everybody, because there are still folks now who, God bless them, they're doing their 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, just train. If
Like
that's
people getting over 1,000 SP.
sure,
in one cycle.
and if that's how they play and they enjoy it, more power to them.
Totally.
I look at it as that used to be fun, but for me, I don't burn out. I don't feel as, oh, this is a job. I don't feel as like exhausted, like you were mentioning, because now I'm enjoying it. I take those windows. Hey man, can you sell some stuff? How you been? How's life? Let's talk. Let me try some emotes. Let's have a good time versus, oh crap, I got to hit 1200 SP, where this player is going to kick my butt or that. That's no longer a concern of mine. So
Yeah, and it's just a nice way to feel about the game. It makes it like it is still fun. Like it's still a story, and it's still something that I want to do. It's not something that I feel like I have to do. And honestly, I think it was the point in time where vet character packages became a bigger deal and they were more available to people. Like when for a fact, or beyond a reasonable doubt rather, depending on how you play your character, that if your shit gets stolen and you get killed, like totally outright PK'd, or you put yourself on the chopping block and you get chopped, that there's a way to come back to the game where you're not starting off like killing seagulls on the island, Like that plus the new Ludus on Bronze Lane makes my least favorite part of this game not a big deal anymore, which is just getting to the point where you can actually go on an adventure without like going into a coma,
it's true.
And I think what it does is it promotes people to be like, all right, well, I'm going to create a character that I'm going to play like it's a stolen car, because why not? If, I'll start out with some decent ranks and some good stats, I'll go out there and I'll just mess around and have a good time and really commit to either being a bandit or commit to something else, and you just kind of go with it. And sometimes that character ends up living forever, and sometimes that character lives his 6 months and then gets wrapped up in something that ultimately the way that they RP'd led to, and it makes for a good story,
I would have to agree with you. I've had a couple of conversations about. Well, let me back this up even more. I remember a time when veteran character packages were very limited in scope and how they were applied. And if you ever feel bored, you fall down the YouTube rabbit hole. You can do that in our forums, and you can find posts where I was begging. I'm like, listen, we should be giving these out to encourage people to play characters that have meaning. And when they die, they should be, I liken them to cars. And again, to date myself. I'm pretty sure Exhibit had a show back then, so I'm like, you should have like a pimped out car
Oh,
or like a rented car. You know what I'm
if
saying?
I ride.
Yeah. So I was like, if if you have a great character and you did some meaningful stuff and you brought some stuff to the world, I'm like, dude, pimp out their VC. And I'm like, you know, if they just had a character, they just kind of solo trained, they didn't do that much, then you know, hey, all right, we'll give you a little compensation. And if they just didn't do crap, you know, and they just kind of, and it happens now, people will trade in time for a VC. Then you know, just give them a sad one. Now, now it's changed so much that I think that it's actually helped because people are like, listen, if I put this character on the chopping block, or if I engage, and see, I don't know how PvP goes. I've been back about 9 months or so. I've yet to actually get into any crazy conflict, but with PvP, even if you engage in it and say you get PK'd, there's that sense of, okay, I can start a new character, I can try something new, I can, you know, go be a legionnaire or constable, I can go be a part of the rats or the BC, or I can try to do something. There's more opportunities now. So I think people are more open to trying new things, and I would dare say that other than, again, there are still a select few who get very frustrated with the way things work. I would say I've been extremely happy with the way veteran characters have worked since we've been back because of exactly what you said. The starting is interesting when you first do it. When you first come to the city and you're like, you really get that gritty feeling. It's like if you ever played Vanilla WoW, where you're like, oh God, dude, it's brutal. Like, oh, getting to level 40 takes a month. Oh, dude, somebody help me. But once you've done that once or twice, like, you kind of want to skip past it so that just mechanically you can focus on the role play and getting some skill points to then get this character, you know, on their way. So
yeah. Absolutely. I will say, though, it took me losing a character to change how I felt about that.
Really?
Yeah. So this is what happened. It was kind of crazy, and I've told this story on our Discord once before, but I came back sort of like you not that long ago, maybe just a couple, maybe 3 months.
Yep.
And as part of my frustration when I left the game, I had put my main, who was 10 years old, on the chopping block, and I had forgotten about that 100%. So I logged back into the game, and I had this character that had, like, I don't even know how many combat ranks, but it was a lot. It was unlearning staves and then taking brawling to, like, 400, 200, and 200, 200 CMs or something similar. Like, and in 2 days, I got chopped. I came back to the game, and in 2 days, I got chopped. And I was like, at first, I was blown away. At first, I thought I had gotten script checked or something, but I was laying down in the Silver Wolf Ludus, like, on the Orkill client. I was like, there's no way. Like, why would they even? And so I, like, kind of got in a little bit of a rage, and I definitely rung that bell a few times, and I was like, someone want to tell me what the hell just happened? Like, why am I dead? And they're like, you're on the chopping block, and you're the closest one. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, no. I was like, I just came back. Like, I just resubbed to this game. Are you joking me? You just killed my 10-year-old character? They're like, dude, you got a level 10 VC. And I was like, oh. Okay. So
it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's like, this still sucks, but at least I'm not starting over with literally nothing.
It's true. And you know what's funny is hearing your story of, you know, I got chopped, and then you hear people who are like, dude, bro, how do I get chopped? Like,
right. And that was the reaction. So I have a group of friends who we all live in the same state. We live in Vermont, and they got me into tech, and we play together pretty frequently. And that was the thing. Like I said, I was like, yeah, guys, I got chopped, and I got a level 10 VC. And they're like, shit, dude, I've got a character that's like 14 years old. Maybe I should put them on the chopping block. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, I got a vet character package, but I would almost rather still have that character, because, you know, now my combat character is so far away from theirs that there's a lot of catching up to do.
Right.
So in the grand scheme of things, like, it's it's cool. I like that it's more doable to start a new character, but I'll always kind of miss playing that guy. He was my first dude. As much as he did
Whew.
suck, like it was crazy. It was one of those, like, and I'm assuming you've played a decent amount of World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And it's sort of like you do slash played and you're like, wow, I've devoted that much time to this. That was the same feeling that I had times like 100, because it was tech and I typed out so many of those combat ranks. I was like, wow, that was a significant amount of my like teen to late 20s life. It was pretty surreal, but that, I think, was a huge switch. After that, I was like, you know what? It is just a game, and people die in real life, so why not here?
Right. I
And
I
it sort of just led me to get really deep into playing Centus and kind of making him almost my main, to the point where time-wise, I'm definitely logged into him more than any other character that I have. I still try and at least hit min gains for training purposes in combat, but after
right.
that, and even interstitial, it's just like, this is the guy who actually has like friends in this game, who's not just a loner who's like bearing the weight of the world on his back or something like that.
Yeah. No. I can say that I have run into Centus. I do enjoy him as a character, so kudos for that.
Thanks.
And I feel your pain. I when I first came back, I played Sumtu. He was my main since 2000, and
I recognize that name. Yeah.
he had been my main on and off. And when I first came back, they had the culling, so they were like, send a character to get chopped. We'll give you a package. And I was like, I can't do Sumtu, man. Like, he's so old school, and I would still get on him to it was amazing. Like, you go to the toga, bring people, and I realized that I was being kind of selfish. Like, some two had his stories like 2000 to maybe 2008ish, right? Like, he did things. He was part of the active story, and now he was just kind of like this tiny little bit. He was like a little bit of seasoning in the tech story, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, I want something that has a little bit more meat to it. So he wasn't the one I sent to the culling, but he was on Chop. Poor guy. And this story has only been told in Discord. He was defending the toga, and he got his eyeballs scooped out. Poor.
Yikes. By Bronze
The
Leaf.
yeah, the bronze leaf killer. Dun dun dun. Yeah, so
Yep, that's who got me.
Yep.
Sleeping in the Silver Wolf Ludus.
sad days. But there is that feeling. What I was aiming towards was that there is that feeling of like, wow, I've had this character when I was in high school, and this thing and this thing in my life and this thing, and like I got married and forced and kids, and you're just like, holy crap, like it's amazing. It's almost cathartic. You're just, I this character is now put to rest, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna start something new. So
And it's kind of cool to feel like that, where it's like, this is the end of that book, essentially.
yep,
Because that's, to me, that's what tech is. Like, when people ask me what it's like to play this game, I'm like, just imagine you're in a book and you're writing your own piece, and there are people who are writing their own sections, and it all sort of comes together in a really strange and really cool way.
I'd have to agree. Well, I am gonna have to say good night just so we can clip this and end
Yeah,
up.
man, thanks for having me on. This is really awesome.
I'm this is kind of the format that I'm gonna try and do with some more folks. If you're watching this and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to talk, you don't have to talk. You can type your responses here on Discord. I'll share them with everybody. I could even screen cap it. But I would love, the idea for me is to get more clips of the Eternal City for folks to see the community. I'm really gonna start trying to bug the staff, like, yo, hey, let me peek behind the curtain. Come hang out one of these nights. But to get more of, this is the kind of role play, because people get it when you say D&D, but I want them to think TEC. I want them to think tech, man. Like, this is a story that we all get to build and enjoy as we go. And you're not going to pay anything. You can have a free to play one character, hang out, have a good time. You can be like some of us, go premium, try to support the game, whatever. But I want there to be more examples of the different kinds of role players, you know?
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on. I love Centus. I look forward to more interactions with him. And thanks for being the first. And
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This is great.
I will, I'll see you in the Discord.
Yeah, take it easy.
All right. Bye. All right. That right there will be an official clip.